We all know Norway is famous for its Vikings and the harsh weather conditions, but not anymore. This country is trying to solve the problem of traveling across its western coast. All of the fjords and the small islands along the way make the journey extremely difficult and therefore extremely long. What are they going to do to reduce this time-consuming journey? They call it the Coastal Highway, and in this video, we will take a look inside Norway's $47 billion coastal highway. Let's dive right into it, shall we? Where are they going to be building it? Right now, if you wanted to travel from Kristiansand to Trondheim, you will have to take the E39 highway. But that's not all. To go from the bottom south of the country to the central parts of the country, aka Trondheim, you will also need to take 7 ferries. This translates to slow transportation routes, and the harsh weather conditions don't make things easier. All in all, to travel the 1,100 kilometer journey, you will need 21 hours of your time, plus money for the trip. This expensive travel method is absolutely awful for the Norwegian economy. Sure, it's fun for tourists who go there and take the ferry ride across the deep fjords, but think about being a businessman that needs to go from the southern part of the country to Trondheim. Would you like spending around 21 hours of your precious time to travel? We didn't think so. And this is precisely the reason that Norway is trying to build the Coastal Highway. So what is it? When we first heard of the idea, we couldn't help but ask, what the hell is it? We understand it's a highway, but at such a price, there has to be something we don't understand. The reason they want to connect the western coast of Norway with the rest of the country is because this region is responsible for roughly 60% of Norway's exports. Not to mention, about 1.3 million people live on the western coast. This is roughly a quarter of the Norwegian population. So to answer the before-mentioned question, this highway is actually a method of connecting all of these islands and towns with one continuous 700-mile highway. This is estimated to cut the travel time by half and therefore make it lucrative for people to do business in this wealthy region. Why the astronomical cost? Have you ever seen what this highway is going to look like? It's a bunch of futuristic-looking tunnels and bridges that are going to be built even below the Norwegian Sea. So the $47 billion price tag is actually a modest one. For example, one of the tunnels was started in 2018, and the estimated cost was $2 billion US. But as the tunnel already reached its budget, the government is trying to issue a new line of funding for this project that's going to cost an extra $145 million. And the completion date was postponed as well. They thought the project would be completed in 2026, but now they estimate that this project won't be ready until you smash that like button if you haven't done so already. But no, it won't be ready until 2029. So now those modest $47 billion might turn into $85 billion, because they expect building these underwater tunnels is going to cost another $38 million on top of the previous $47 billion. Do you see why we said that the initial estimate was a modest one? How many tunnels and bridges are they planning to build? There are going to be exactly the same number of bridges and tunnels as there are ferry boat crossings. The idea is to create a ferry-free E39 highway, so there would be around 7 of them across the 700-mile highway. Since the fjords are around 1.6 to 5 kilometers wide and reach a depth in the range of 400 to around 1,300 meters. This in turn would mean that the new underwater tunnels will have to be bigger and deeper than ever before. Some of the projects include Rogfast. This is currently the most ambitious tunnel in the entire project. This is the underwater tunnel that's supposed to connect Stavanger and Haugesund. The tunnel will need to be 16 miles long, and the entire thing will need to be built underwater to completely eliminate risks accompanied with a harsh weather environment. Rogfast will have 2 parallel tunnels running 390 meters below the sea level, and at the deepest point of the fjord, this tunnel will be 92 meters below the sea, making it nearly impossible for the tunnel to flood. But nearly impossible is not impossible. To avoid any disasters that might occur inside the tunnel due to flooding, the Norwegian Public Roads Administration, or NPRA, seeks to solve this problem by building emergency exits that connect the two tunnels every 250 meters. As is that wasn't enough, this tunnel is going to have a lay-by every 500 meters. The entire tunnel will be connected with numerous air vents that are going to be responsible for the airflow inside the tunnel. The mid-route intersection that's going to be connecting the town of Kvitstøy will be made possible through a round point. What this means is cars will be able to go to this town without the use of a ferry, a feat that was never possible before. The construction of this tunnel began in 2018, but since we already said that the engineers missed their projections, this one tunnel is not only going to cost more, but it will also take longer to build. 3 years longer, to be exact. Bjornafjorden. This one is simpler. To connect the 600-meter deep fjord on both ends, architects have proposed building a floating bridge that would connect the 5-kilometer strip south of Bergen. Of course, this will inevitably be a suspension bridge, but there is a little secret. The foundation would be based on the TLP method, or tension leg platform. This technological advancement is suitable for depths ranging from 300 to 1,500 meters, which is perfect for this project. There would be numerous pillars underneath the bridge that would use the TLP method. This technology has already been tested, so there's very small room for error. However, the bridge will need to be 45 to 85 meters above sea level. Why? Because otherwise it would interfere with the sea traffic and ships wouldn't be able to pass underneath it. Sulafjorden. Namely, architects have constructed 2 possible ways of crossing this fjord. The first one, and the more straightforward one, is by using a 3-tower suspension bridge. The end towers would be anchored on land, while the third tower, the one in the middle, would use the TLP method, and it would use a floater that would be anchored to the sea floor, 400 meters down. This technology has already been tested, so there's very small room for error. However, the bridge will need to be 45 to 85 meters above sea level. Why? Because otherwise it would interfere with the sea traffic and ships wouldn't be able to pass underneath it. The safer alternative that scientists are considering is by using a floating tunnel tethered to the sea floor. Only the floaters would remain above the surface of the water, and even those would be around 400 meters apart. And the tunnel would be 20 meters below the sea level, in order for a ship to pass through. If you're wondering why this is the safer option, we'll only show you this little video of Norway in the winter months, and you decide which one is safer. Romsdalfjorden. This is one of the widest fjords in Norway. It's around 21 kilometers wide and 400 meters deep. In order to cross it, they proposed a hybrid method. The first part of the fjord, or the 16 kilometers, would be an undersea tunnel, just like the one we talked about in the Bjornafjorden. Next, construction workers would also build a 2-kilometer suspension bridge that would connect onto Mold. Sognefjord. They call it King of the Fjords, and for good reason. Its width is not what's impressive. It's only 3.7 kilometers wide, but the depth, there you have a 1,300 meter deep sea that is pretty hard to cross. And the biggest challenge is figuring out how to connect the land without interfering in the oncoming and frequent ship traffic. Because of its depth, there are only a couple of options to cross this bridge. The first one is to build a suspension bridge that would only have 2 towers and would connect the 3.7 kilometer strip. This would cause serious problems for the engineers, as this would be almost double the length of the current longest suspension bridge. Not to mention, the towers would have to be around 450 meters tall. The current tallest suspension bridge is the Malau Viaduct, standing at 343 meters tall. The next and more viable option of the two is a hybrid solution. On one end, the crossing would feature a suspension bridge that would turn into an underwater floating tunnel. This would leave a significant part of the sea free. This would allow the incoming ships to cross above the underwater floating tunnel, while the cars would be free to pass underneath it. But as we said, this is one of the most difficult fjords to connect, so the engineers need to work on a viable solution for connecting the land. And on that note, we end this video. But hey, Do you think this coastal highway will be beneficial to Norway's economy? You can tell us in the comment section below. If you'd like more videos like these, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon so you never miss any of them. And as always, thanks for watching, guys.